So we are in the verse Parancha Kaman Anuyanti Balahate Mrityoryanti Vidatasya Pasham Athadhira Amrutatvam Viditva Dhruvam Adhruveshu Iha Na Prarthayanti. Okay. So now let's
have is no one here, right?
Oh my God, I didn't send you, no? Did I send you? I didn't send you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, all the, who has anyway?
I have, and I was
have,
making coffee.
Okay, and I think Nakul has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I will make
so
coffee.
now, where you know where we are?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
indiscriminate ones who go after.
Yeah.
Hi, Samar. How are you?
Good.
You can. Yeah. Oh, there are chairs there. Okay. So the whole talk here is about if by knowing the nature of oneself, one actually solves the whole problem or the whole puzzle of life, why is it that everybody is not looking there for the solution? Okay. So this is where the whole orientation, how everybody is given the orientation. What is the orientation? You're given these 5 senses, right? Your eyes, your ears, your sense of touch, your sense of taste, and what? Smell. Right? So you have 5 sense organs, and then there are objects, corresponding objects. For your eyes, what is that? Forms. For your ears, what? Sounds. Okay? For your nose, smells. Okay? Touch and taste, food taste, right? So that means you have 5 sense organs, and then there is infinite possibility to what? Gratify your sense organs through various sense objects, right? So let's say you're committed to sense of taste. Then within that taste you can say, oh, I love, spicy, or I love sweet, or I love sour. And then even within that you have sour, you can have kimchi, or you can have all different kinds of cuisines. So the whole life, in fact there is infinite variety. In any one given thing, there is so much variety, even your eyes can see forms. Okay? So even within those forms, what all you see and what are the possibilities is just creation. Whole life goes in what? Looking and selecting different objects, and then what? Engaging in them, and therefore getting pleasure out of it. Okay? And at times what happens is you don't always get everything according to your needs. Then what happens? You're frustrated. Okay? Now that frustration, then you have to, how do you deal with that frustration? When you don't get what you want, what happens?
You get upset, you get angry.
You get upset, you get angry. Then what happens? Over a period of time, what? You cultivate something else. So, or if you have something, you want more of it. So that means you never run out of things to engage in. Okay? And this is how most of one's life goes in what? Engaging in whatever data that your eyes and your sense organs provide, okay? And therefore you engage in that. Okay? Engaging means what? What happens? When you see an object, it creates either what in Sanskrit we call raga or dvesha. Raga means it's something that you like. It creates. Object does not mean a given, object like this. It can mean a person. Okay? That is also what you see, and you fall in love, you like that person, and then you go for that relationship. So whole life goes in what? You see that object with your eye, then it creates a certain sensation in your mind in form of raga or dvesha. Raga is like, dvesha is dislike. What you like, what do you want to do? It says you want to what? Yoga and kshema. Yoga means you want to get what you like, and you also what? A lot of time goes in acquiring what you like, because it requires a lot of effort. It's not always available. Okay. Second is kshema. Kshema means holding on to what you like. That also, once you get it, there is no guarantee that you will have it. Right? So therefore, again, a lot of and continuous effort goes in keeping it. Okay? If you don't like something, what happens? You want to, two kinds of things you want to do for things that you don't like. You want to avoid having it, you want to keep away from things that you don't like, and the second thing is, if you have what you don't like, then you want to get rid of it. Okay? So therefore, whole life goes in what? Engaging in the world to fulfill your raga and dvesha. That's how we all live. Okay? Then what happens is, by the time you satisfy one thing, then at times the value for it goes away. You really, so many times, my husband is a professor, and some students come to him and say that, this was my dream job and I really worked so hard and I spent years trying to get this job, and now that I have it, I hate it. So now your preference has changed. So now you go after something else, okay? And this after the other. And even if you have it, let's say you have this money, your goal is that I want this much money. By the time you have it, okay, you want more of it, then you want more of it, you want to retain it, you want to keep away from dangers which will take it away from you. So all your life just goes in managing your different raga and dvesha. And imagine one day you have to disappear from this world. Does the life seem like a completion? It really doesn't seem like a completion. Imagine you're watching a movie and there is no closure. Right? It's just like one day you're chasing this, next day you're chasing that, and then you're chasing this and you're not satisfied, and then you're there, and one day you disappear. Right? You have not really solved the whole problem. You have not even understood why you're here. What is the purpose of life? Right? What is it that I'm really searching for? Whether what I'm looking at is able to give me what I'm looking for. None of those questions are ever raised or even attempted to be answered. Because everybody is doing it, it seems like a law, but nobody actually thinks about it. Okay? So this is why it says the orientation with which we are born is what? We are born with 5 sense organs, and then there are corresponding objects, and a natural tendency is to what? Engage in that. Nobody even questions it. Okay? And when you engage in that, what happens is, when you perform an action, okay? Action is a cause. When you perform an action to get something that you want, now that action being a cause, it will produce what? Effect. Right? A cause and effect relationship. The entire universe is connected through what? Any object that you see right now here is connected to what? Causes within causes within causes within causes. Right? The tree that is here right now, what? Where did it come from? The soil, right? In the soil, there was a seed there, because only soil cannot produce it. Now that seed, where did it come from?
From another tree.
From another tree. And that tree, where did it come from? So that means everything is, nothing is just randomly appearing. There are causes within causes within causes within causes. Any object that you see. Okay? Even the mountain that you see right now, what? There is this volcanic eruption, there are causes. Nothing just happens like that. Okay? Even our presence here today is connected to events in the universe which are what? At one point in time, dinosaurs was extinct. Only when dinosaurs was extinct, then mammals could survive on this earth. Our presence here is connected to those events millions of years ago. Okay? So that means if everything here which is there in the universe is following cause-effect relationship, then our presence here and our actions here are not what? are they going to follow cause and effect relationship or not?
Yeah.
They are. Okay. In fact, intuitively, we all know that there is a cause and effect relationship between our actions and results. This is why, if you want to achieve this result, what do you say? This is what I should do. Where did you get this information from? You understand cause and effect relationship. Okay? You say, if this is the result that I am looking for, this is what I should do. This is what we call understanding of cause and effect relationship. Okay? But the problem is that we think that this cause and effect relationship with reference to my life is going to end when this body goes. Okay? What the Vedas say is, hey, do any laws, look at any laws, do they have a perspective of 50 years or 100 years? When do the laws begin?
Big Bang.
Exactly. At the time of the creation, the laws begin and they start applying. The laws of gravity, they don't only exist till you're there. Okay? Every law of the universe which follows cause and effect relationship, it starts with creation, as Kanika says. Okay? So therefore, if everything is like that, with reference to action and result, how reasonable it is to assume that this action and result will apply only till what, this 50 or 70 or 100 years till I'm alive. So this is where it says, the minute you perform an action, okay, you get what, this is what we call karma, theory of karma. Okay? Karma does not mean, please understand very, very clearly, it does not mean predetermined. It does not mean that things are all arranged and you can't do anything about it. It only makes you recognize the fact that there is a cause and effect relationship between your actions and results, like everything else in the universe. And therefore, now how many causes, which are some of the causes which account for your presence today, they are known to you. So many other causes are, all the causes are known to you in detail. Nobody can know all the causes. But because nobody can know all the causes, can we conclude that causes are not there? They are there, but what? They are unknown to me. This is the reasonable way of living in this world. You have to shift your vision, because generally the orientation with which we live with reference to our action and result, when things don't happen my way, what happens? What do I conclude? What do I conclude?
Life sucks.
Life sucks. Exactly. Right? Or things are unfair. Or this whole thing of why me, this whole victim psychology. Okay? You feel you are great, everything is right with you, there is something wrong with the world or something wrong with the person. Okay? So this is the orientation with which we live. Okay? Or there are other types of people, what do? They put the whole blame on themselves. So I'm no good, I'm a failure. You keep on what? Blaming yourself for everything. There are people who blame others and there are people who blame themselves. And we get so caught in that orientation, everything, every situation in life is colored through that perspective. Okay? I will give you an example how people are caught in their framework without even recognizing it. I'll give you an example. Narika likes my examples and stories. Your mom used to tell me that Narika comes home and tells me the stories that you told.
Hopefully correctly.
So, there is this a woman, she came to me and she says, you know, I have this whole big problem because I always feel that something is amiss and I never feel totally at home or not comfortable. Okay? So therefore I started asking her now what's happening, because we don't know about her life. Then what actually the symptoms were, okay, that for example if she's in a party and 2-3 people are talking, then she would not feel comfortable just going and joining. She would feel the message that she gives to herself is, I'll be disturbing, I'll be intruding. Right? And sometimes it's true, but sometimes it's not true. It's like, this is how she feels. If she is at work, she always would feel what? That, oh, maybe my colleague deserves the promotion more. Okay? Then sometimes she says, I even hesitate to call somebody because I would feel that, oh, this person will be disturbed by my calling them. That maybe the person is busy, and so that means she's constantly telling herself what? What is a common message?
Low self-esteem.
Exactly. That I am not important. There is this common message which keeps manifesting in what? Different situations. Until the time that you recognize that there is one message which is a common message I'm giving to myself, you think that that situation calls for that response. You don't even understand it is to do with your own coloring. Whole life goes on. Okay? Then it became so dysfunctional. Are you comfortable when your self-image of yourself is that you are not important? Nobody can be comfortable with that self-image. Okay? So therefore, that when she wanted to do something about it, and she came to us. So that's where I said, okay, now where does this problem of self-image come from? So we started looking at her life, and then she discovered, and along with her I discovered, okay, that when she was young, okay, she had 2 siblings. And those 2 siblings were extremely bright at school. Okay? And in fact, the parents did not even kind of tell her. The parents were quite evolved. Okay? So the parents would not put her down actively. But what happened is, when the results came, the other 2 siblings did really well in school. So they got all the praise. Not that she was reprimanded or she was said something very bad actively. But what went on in the child's mind? What happened? I'm not good. Okay? I'm not good because my parents are praising my brother and sister. Okay? So that means then a child's mind builds a story around it. It's not just I'm not good, right? My parents don't love me. Then I'm not important. This is a whole big story that a child creates in one's mind. This story, do you think it is just going to disappear? It's not going to disappear. Okay? It interferes. It interferes when I go to a party, which is an event which is totally not connected to what happened to what? Me with my parents. My whole perception is colored by the impression that I am carrying from that event.
But this is a very common problem where siblings are not created equally. And even if a parent is conscious not to put one down,
yeah,
the other one, what do you do? Not let them shine?
So
put them
let's
down
see.
as well? That's not right either.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, we will talk about it, what can be done. Right? What can be done is, it's a very common problem. In fact, a lot of people suffer. People who look very fine from outside, it's amazing the number of complexes a human being carries within oneself. Unsaid, unspoken. Okay? Vedanta class makes you look at yourself. Look at yourself without all these, So there is this very nice model that Surya came up with. Okay? This is a model about a human being. A human being, right, it's called Johari window. Anybody has heard of it? You've heard of it? Okay? So this Johari window, it analyzes a human personality and it creates 4 parts. Okay? What are the 4 parts? The first part is what it says, which is known to you about yourself and known to others about yourself. So that means You choose to reveal yourself, what you think, what are your preferences, how your life is, whatever you share with others. So you are open about it, and because you are open about it, others also know that part about you. Okay? There is the other side of us, which is what we call hidden side. What is hidden side? That you are totally oblivious to something, but others see that in you. Okay? What is an example? Okay? There are people who at times totally take over the whole conversation and they totally dominate. And if you ask them, how did this whole conversation go? Who spoke the most? They have no idea. Their perception, they don't even understand that 80% of the time or 90% of the time they were the ones who were talking. So that means, but for others who are observers, it's very obvious. So that is what we call the hidden side. Hidden side is, I am not aware, but when an observer looks at me, it's very evident that this is how you are. This is the hidden side. Then there is a third side, which is, you know, but others don't know about you. This is what we call the facade. What is a facade? I know many things about me, but I don't reveal everything that I know about me. I show a picture, okay, which is what? Acceptable by the society, which is what we call facade. Okay? And then the fourth is what we call the unknown. Unknown by you and unknown by others. So there are so many issues that we are all carrying within us. So many orientations which are maybe healthy, not so healthy, and neither we are aware, nor others are aware. Okay? So therefore, many times, what does a psychologist do? When you go to a psychologist or with a given problem, what he will engage you in a conversation, he or she, and then what will happen? You will discover so many aspects about yourself that you were not aware of. So that means these unknown hidden areas are also what can be knowable by you. Okay? And even Vedanta, to a certain extent, makes you recognize not only all these different dynamics that are happening, but also the unknown areas. Okay? So this is how a whole life goes in, not only engaging in the world, but managing your self-esteem as a result of, right, and certain notions that you have believed about yourself and about the world, okay, which remain intact until the time that you question them. Okay. But what happens is, when we perform an action, imagine you perform an action to get it, okay, and you have colored the whole situation with your own frustration. Is your action going to be totally accurate to the situation, or it is going to depend upon the assessment that you have done? If your assessment is distorted, what is going to be the nature of your action?
Distorted as well.
Distorted, exactly. If your assessment is not accurate, what is going to be your response? It is going to be distorted as well. If the action is distorted, what is the result? Distorted. Okay? And then you blame the world further, because the results are even further distorted from what you want. Then you strengthen those orientations further and further. Okay? So this is what the law of karma says. Hey, if you want life to be meaningful, what do you have to do? The first thing is, look at yourself. Look at all these assumptions that you have. Correct it, because without that correction, you will enter into what? You will reinforce wrong thinking. Okay? And with that wrong thinking or distorted thinking, what? Your self-esteem goes further down. And then you escalate the problem. You multiply the problem. Okay. So, if you want your life to be in order, generally in order, we want our life to be in order. You want to fix the world. where is the focus now? What does Vedanta say? If you want your life to be in order, what do you need to fix? The world? Yourself. Okay? So this is where, it's a very nice analogy. It's a nice analogy because there is somebody told me, she said that a child was given a very complex puzzle. Okay? And people thought it would be impossible for the child to solve it because it's too complex. Okay? And child, after 15 minutes, it was all solved. So people were like really very surprised. How was he able to solve it? So then the little child said, behind this complex puzzle, there was this human face. All I had to do was to put that human face together. When I put that human face together and I turned it around, what? The puzzle got solved. Okay. So this is where he says that this orientation, that the 5 sense organs, the world, my interactions with the world, raga, dvesha, my coping with, when I don't get things, the self-image I have about myself, the conclusions that I have about the world, then that colors my vision. With that coloring, I engage in the world. I further accumulate further complexes, and I'm in such an entanglement, and people cannot stand that entanglement. It's more and more complex. I'm not doing anything to what? Anything which is self-enhancing until I look at myself and begin to correct all, question my notions and correct my conclusions in keeping with what is. Here we are not talking about positive thinking, please understand. Okay? What is the difference between positive thinking and Vedanta? I'll just give you an example. Okay? Now here, this is a very famous example for positive thinking, right? Glass half full and half empty. So the negative thinkers are who? Half empty, and they concentrate only on empty. Who are the positive thinkers? Half full, right? They keep on concentrating on half full. What does Vedanta make you do? See both. Because the reality is both. You can't just ignore one and concentrate only on the other. Otherwise, we keep on moving from partial vision. Initially, the partial vision was what? Empty. Now, the partial vision is what? Full. What is the totality of the situation? Half empty and half full. How is this important? Now, shift this glass scenario to a real life situation. You are doing a business. Okay? There are opportunities, which is what we call represents half full, and there are risks, half empty. And you choose to concentrate only on opportunities and ignore the risks. What is going to be your decision making like? Accurate? No. If you don't make accurate decisions because you have not understood the situation in totality, and the vision is partial, over a period of time, the risks may go on increasing because when you ignore the risk, they don't disappear, they remain. And if you have not addressed them, what? They increase over a period of time. Okay? So now, but you are still caught in positive thinking. What happens? This share of ignored, which is risk, is increasing. The risks are increasing, and you are going on focusing only on positive. How much of it in total, the proportion of the situation that you are ignoring becomes what? Higher and higher. The risks are increasing, but you are going what? You are going on continuing to focus on positive, right? You are becoming relatively more and more partial in your assessment of situation. When you are becoming more and more partial, your decision making becomes what? More and more skewed. So therefore, intelligent living, objective living is to understand the totality of the situation. And the theory of karma enables you to understand the totality of situation. Our tendency is either to blame ourselves when things don't happen our way, or blame the others. That is the only coping mechanism that we have when things don't go our way. When I look at the totality of the situation, what do I understand? That there are causes and causes and causes and causes. Some of which I know, many I don't know. This is reality. Therefore, what is my conclusion? When things don't happen my way, do I go and name the world as bad? The world sucks. Very nice. Vicky is like the world sucks. What is my conclusion? That the world is following certain laws. Let me understand those laws and navigate my life intelligently. Understand how the world works, and then what? Use that knowledge to do what needs to be done. This is what we call intelligent interventions. So much of our time is going in, you're getting caught in that circle, the distorted vision that we have created about the world, okay, and further reinforcing it. We become more and more away from reality, and more committed to our personal vision of the world without even realizing it. So this is what one has to do, because that means the law of karma, the way it works is what? The more your actions are distorted, the results are going to be distorted. Yeah.
Those who change the world,
Yes.
anyone who's changed the world,
Yes.
they don't accept reality as it is, and they distort reality. So how do you reconcile
Okay.
that?
Yeah. That's a good question, right? So that means you accept the reality does not mean, now behind Aarti's question, there is this whole assumption that once you accept the reality, you don't do anything to change it. We are not saying that, right? Once you accept the reality, then you constantly have the free will to change it to your needs, right? This is what we call the act of, that is your new cause that you are creating, right? Reality acceptance does not mean that you don't do anything. This is the common problem that people have, because people think that accepting reality will make you what? Totally complacent, and will make you somebody who will not have any ambition or will not have the drive to change things. We are not saying that. What we are saying is that capacity to intervene that you have through your actions, when it is not loaded with all these negative self-image, right, and the vision of the world which is, it is unfair, then that capacity you can use much more and much more effectively to make the changes that you want to make. Okay? In fact, you can do it much better than anybody else. Most of the time we don't use that capacity to intervene intelligently because we are caught in this framework, which actually is an impediment to my using that capacity. Okay? So that means when I want and nobody works for non-success. Everybody wants to be successful. But when things don't happen according to your needs, what are you going to do? Are you going to be proactive and say, what can I do now? This is how the world works. Now let me see what more I can do to get what I want. Or you can get into this whole thing of, oh, I'm no good. Right? So this is what we are saying. The less you have these burdens, more you can be proactive in life to make the changes that you want to make. To free that energy for constructive use, proactive use, rather than getting into this self-destructive mode. Okay? This is what we are saying.
I also think that the way the world works, like
Yes.
you said, has
Yes.
changed so much and
Yes.
is changing so fast and
Yes.
rapidly that it's just becoming complex, and even to step out and disconnect and make those changes is just becoming more and more complex. And I'll share a video that's I don't know, some of you might have seen it, about how it is exactly this, that today the people who have less are happier, because the more you have, the more you get sucked into having. And it's not that you desire it, it's also a function of necessity to operate in the way the world works now. And you keep getting pulled along, and it's like a pull-push, and unless you lead a really nomadic life, it's very hard to balance it and getting tough.
Yeah, I think I would agree to a certain extent, but I would also say that because of the complexity, actually there are people who are wanting to come back
Absolutely.
to the, for example, this class. I think 20 years ago, this generation would never have been there in Vedanta class. Okay? Because the things are becoming so complex, people are asking more questions. Okay? And then they are looking for solutions. Okay? Societies are, there is one thing that we think, that one thing we have to understand, that human nature is human nature. Okay? Even at the time of Mahabharata, Duryodhana had a lot and he always wanted more. Okay? So there are some basic things that we have which are fundamental to human being. We think it is something which is particular to this society, but it is not. Okay? But it is true, and more complex the world becomes, in fact, the intelligent beings, they ask more questions. It actually impels you to ask questions that you would not have asked. So in a way it's healthy. It's not, we are not saying that it's bad. The world keeps changing. What is most important thing is, at any given point in time, you can understand the world better. Once you know how it works, you've cracked it. Then you know what is required. Before that, you have no clue. You're constantly trying to change the world. You're never looking at yourself. That can happen to Duryodhana, that can happen to us, that can happen to 20,000 years from now, a human being. So there is always this orientation that you want to fix that. What you need to fix is yourself. Then you can easily navigate. Okay? And that navigation actually is liberation. Because external situations will not change. But if you change your attitude and if you change your understanding, you're free with reference to that situation because you're on top of it. So the whole attempt is that good actions, what they cause, let's look at now what we talk about karma. Okay. What is this karma? Karma is a good action, okay, that you perform, which is a cause, will produce result. What kind of result will it produce? We call seen result and unseen result. Okay? Seen result, when I do something good for somebody, the immediate feedback that comes from the universe. How do I feel? When I have done something, I feel good. Okay? I feel good, I feel satisfied. Right? So this is what we call the immediate feedback that the universe gives me. Even if somebody doesn't come and tell you, oh, what a great job you have done, this is something the universe tells you in form of your self-satisfaction. Okay? Then what it says is that this cause, which is the seen cause, is not the end of the picture. There is something which is what we call the unseen result, which will come in the future. Future means when. When in future? Nobody knows. Okay? And in what form? You don't know. Okay? This is why we call unseen result. Unseen result of a good action is what we call punya. Punya will result in conducive situations. Now, conducive situations for us, right? We have the whole picture of the world, privileged and non-privileged. So we create category. Privileged means the people who have everything. And non-privileged means people who are deprived of everything. This very vision of the world, is it accurate? It's not. There is no human being who has everything And there is no human being who doesn't have anything. Okay? Privilege also, in fact, we were talking about recently success. Okay? What is the definition of success? Our society has created a definition of success. What is it, that definition? What do we think is success?
Money, power.
Exactly. The whole world has accepted this definition of success is exactly as Nawaz is saying, money and power. Because you have more money, then with money what you want to do? You want to increase your power. Okay? The more you have it, the more you are considered to be successful by the whole society. Even in your interaction, okay, when we meet somebody, what impresses us? The position of the person, where the person lives, what kind of car the person drives, what kind of schools the person has gone to. It's all related to money and power. Everything else is also related to money and power. Okay. So therefore, with this definition of success, we then think that people who are privileged are people who have money and power. You go and ask the people who have money and power, their life has no challenges. Ask them. In fact, most of you probably belong to that category anyway. There is no human being who does not have challenges. And the so-called unprivileged people that you think are like deprived, you think they are all deprived in all ways? Go to Juhu Beach where I live. You see simple little boys, they are running around, they are totally carefree, they are laughing, they are smiling, they have no worries in this world. Okay? Recently my husband's relatives were visiting from France and they said in no beach they have seen people so free and so enjoying life. They are in European beaches and they all have their books, they are reading, they are like, in their own world, they are totally expressionless. Here there are people who are simple people doing nothing. They are sitting on the beach having their simple food, hardly 50 rupees, and they are laughing, they are just joyful. So lively, they were totally fascinated looking at Indian beach. Things that we don't even think about. Okay? So therefore, those people that you consider highly unprivileged, they have their share of happiness. You have your share, they have their share. You have your share of challenges, they have their share of challenges. We should not idealize that, romanticize that and say that they are all happy. No, they have their challenges too. Okay? So that means action and result. Unseen result of a good action is what? Certain conducive situation, but that conducive situation does not mean only more money and more power. It can mean more intelligence. People who are born in a family which is a scholarly family, maybe they are not very rich, but they learn how to read books, they learn how to perform dances, art.
Are you linking desire to this aspect of not being able to having challenges and not being able to always get what you want?
What I'm saying is, as long as your orientation is, right, I like this, I don't like this, okay, then I have some assessment of that, I perform an action and I get the result. Whole life of every human being is caught in this whole framework. What Upanishads say is, in this framework there is no solution. You have to get out of it. But I'm showing you how everybody is caught in this framework. Right? People who you call privileged and people who you call non-privileged are caught in the same framework. Actions and results.
But actually
Unseen result.
every plant, every animal is in the same situation in their way too.
That's
They
true.
have certain needs, they strive for them.
They
They
strive.
have challenges, they fail, so on and so forth. They achieve. What happens there as well?
But a human being is a particular human being. You know, there are certain things that a human being, the other animals also have. Okay? The animals have some basic perception and inference. That is true. Okay? They have perception. You go to, in Katha Upanishad, it is analyzed. The analysis is, you go to a cow with grass. What will the cow do? They come towards you. You go with a stick, cow will run away. This is what we call not only perception but inference. The cow knows, right? So this is basic perception and inference every living being has, which is true. But a white cow does not have a complex that, oh, I'm fair and I'm beautiful, okay? And a black cow doesn't have a complex that, oh, I'm dark, I'm no good. The cows don't stand in the line to go to America because they think that life will be made.
Very well said.
Animals only have the
Basic perception and inference.
But even a cow is looking for food and shelter.
Yeah,
That's all. That's their
Absolutely,
only.
that's all.
That's all. They're not
There's a
looking for
human
fame,
being.
power, money. They're only going to feed themselves, survive, and propagate. And like,
Exactly.
They don't have the freedom to choose. We're born with that freedom, and they don't have the neocortex part of the brain.
yeah.
They only
Exactly.
have the mammalian and the reptilian part, so they don't have the left and right part.
So what we are talking about is a human being, right? Exactly, because human being is a special species, right? We have so many other, we have complexes. We have self-image.
But animals have complexes too. Like for example, dogs.
That's true, but we are not worried. I'm concerned about solving my problem. Nobody, of course, the whole world has problems.
No, but dog owners, I think there would be a difference between human pets and a dog on the beach who go out.
See, cows
They
don't
have
go
a
to
clear
school.
hierarchy of who's the alpha, the gang, all of that. Here,
And they
because
also have complexes of various sorts. Dog owners know that.
but human, I
Anyway.
think that
We'll stick with us.
So we'll stick with ourselves because we are trying to solve our problem, right? So therefore, let us look. So there is action and result. Okay? You do good actions, you have unseen result which can result in not only more wealth, it can result in more intelligence, artistic tendencies, people who become leaders and make some big changes in the world. This all result of some good actions. Okay? And then we all have our challenges, which is coming from where? The action which is done with an inappropriate intention and executed inappropriately will produce what we call the first seen result. What is the seen result? Conflict, guilt, fear. These are the seen result of an inappropriate action. An unseen result of an inappropriate action is challenges, business losses, relationship problems. Psychological afflictions, fears, sadness, depression. Somebody told, when I was talking about everything follows cause and effect relationship. So one of the American who was in my class, and she says, but my mom had a depression and there was no cause. And I said, maybe there was no cause which was known to her, but there are lots of dormant causes which are unknown to us. A psychologist you go, they will try to find out those unknown causes. There is no such thing called unknown to you does not mean that there is no cause. Okay, so this is how we are. Look at this, what Upanishads are saying. You are born with 5 sense organs. You look at the world, but likes and dislikes. You engage in the world to get what you want, avoid what you don't want. You are not always successful. You carry for unsuccessful events a certain self-image. See how well they analyze something which applies to every human being. Okay? With that coloring, you perform an action, okay? And you accrue the result. Okay? And you are caught in this same framework. Everybody is caught in the same framework. How to get out of it? How to get out of it? This is, he says, there are some people who recognize the futility of what? The whole thing of engaging in the world and thinking that my fulfillment is going to come by fixing the world in one way or the other, or manipulating the world in a way that I always get what I want. The solution lies in re-looking at who I am. That re-looking at who you are, according to the Upanishads, works at two levels which are very, very significant. One is what? Questioning the fact that I am this little individual. This is when the whole thing of self-discovery, until you re-understand who your true nature is, which is not something which is confined to what? One little body, and you re-understand yourself as what? That which, what? Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. That is a very huge paradigm shift. Because as long as you stay in this framework, there is no solution. It shows that. But most of us stay within this framework and keep on manipulating the world. At the most, what you get, birth, relatively, will give you certain comforts, will give you certain intelligence, will give you certain good things which are required in the society. But it cannot what? Give you what you are searching for. The solution is only in discovering the fact that you are much more than what you have thought yourself to be.
In a way, we're saying that everything to do with the senses, the five senses, and the world around us is transient, right? It's always it's impermanent. Like it's always changing.
Exactly.
So if you're always placing your happiness in that, it's like it's limited. It's not. So actually coming back to the whole thing of what we were discussing is that when you look inward, then
when you look at the nature of yourself,
nature of ourselves,
yes,
that's where we find the limitless.
the whole solution to the whole search that we have.
Yeah.
So this is what we are saying. Even though the solution to the whole search is in inquiry about the nature of self, why everybody does not engage in it? Everybody does not engage in it because the way we are born, our whole orientation is what? External. And in that external, we get caught in this whole framework. External means what? It creates what? Raga and Dvesha. Then what? You want to engage, then things happen or don't happen your way. You have a self-image. But with that self-image, you perform an action, you get result. This is what we call the external orientation. This is when you are, everybody is caught in that framework.
I was just thinking when you were saying that, like the way we are evolving now as a society, and we're defining success to be monetary and our bank accounts and what cars we drive. But just for a moment, if we reverse that, and what if, like from childhood, we were taught to actually look within and see who we were,
Absolutely.
and we focused, and it's not idealistic, it can be true. And we actually focused on who we were,
Yes.
and we gave that importance.
Yes.
It would be a very
The
different world.
whole different world.
It would be a very different
Absolutely.
world.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. The inputs, because everybody reinforces that given world, that because everybody is doing it, you don't have any other way to do it. So you get caught in the same framework. This is exactly what it says. Because if the solution lies in knowing oneself, people should go for that solution. Why are they engaged there?
But don't you often have to go through that cycle to actually come to the point where you understand you need to look at it? Otherwise you're constantly...
Absolutely. Right? So therefore, what Nakul says is absolutely true. Right? Vedanta is not, meant for somebody, because the whole orientation is that I want to, let's say for succeeding, I want to have resources, right? Now you tell the person from a very young age and say that, okay, now this is not going to get you there. The person is not going to be ready for it. When you have got it, right, and you see its limitation, that it does not really solve everything that I wanted to solve, you go for what? Finding out something more. Exactly. So there is a natural process that also happens, and that is so true. Okay? This is what it says, that, this is the orientation, everybody is committed to that. Some people will choose to question this whole framework, and at any given point in time, the people who question the framework are going to be very few compared to the rest who are going to be caught in that framework at any given point in time.
So like after the 5th or 6th grade, yoga is a part of most school curriculums now. Why isn't Vedanta?
I know, I really think that is there. But the problem, Nawaz, is it's very interesting, because when the government talks about introducing Gita and all, but there is such a, Hindus are the ones who actually oppose it the most, because then
It becomes a communal issue.
it becomes a communal issue, where in fact the emphasis is not on the universality of the teaching of Gita. It doesn't talk. Where is anything Hindu about it? Tell me. When it is showing the orientation that a human being has, the kind of problems it leads to, the laws that operate, which gives us challenges and conducive situation, what is Hindu about it?
Depends on who's teaching. I think there are people who can make it more religious.
Exactly. But the way what is written there is nothing, it's universal. It's just understanding human being and human needs and human goals.
So it's actually just a marketing issue, maybe call it out of it, something
Yeah.
else would work.
Absolutely, it's a marketing issue. If somebody knows how to market it well and make this knowledge available, the society can benefit a lot. Yeah, it's true. Okay. So that's where you re-question. Now, in that self-pursuit, there are two pursuits. One is what we call self-discovery. The other one is self-growth. Okay. Self-discovery is what Vicky is talking about, is we are not talking about soul. Okay. We are not talking about your reality being not this physical body and subtle body and you are the soul. What is it that we are talking about? You are Brahman. What is the difference between soul and Brahman? Soul is a one which is one individual, right? After here, it goes somewhere in some other time and place and lives as one little entity in the whole universe. That is what we call soul. What is Brahman? What are we talking about? Is that the pursuit? What is the pursuit of Vedanta? Making you know the true nature, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Is it like one entity? No. That I love what Nakul says. What we are making you see is the fact that all that is here is sea of awareness, consciousness. And who are you? You are that awareness. You are not swimming in awareness, you are that awareness. And the entire, all the objects that are within that sea of awareness, they have a dependent reality. They depend upon awareness for their existence. That is the vision of Vedanta. How do you understand that? The easiest way to understand that, we've seen it in detail, so I will not show you all in detail, but what I want to show you is, how do you understand the fact that there is nothing but sea of awareness, and every character which seems to be swimming in the sea of awareness has a dependent reality, it depends upon awareness for its existence. One example will represent, it gives you an insight into how it is, and that is your own dream. Your own dream is one case where there is what? In the dream world, there is dream time, dream space, dream characters, okay? Mountains, rivers, objects, everything. Okay? The entire dream world, where has it come from? Your little of that individual awareness, right? The entire dream world, which constitutes of so many different characters, comes from your awareness. Okay? Does the dream mountain, can it exist without the presence of awareness? Can the dream river exist without the presence of your awareness? Can the dream characters exist without the presence of your awareness? While being all of this, is your awareness afflicted or affected by anything that is happening in the dream? No. It is untouched. Pervading everything, creating the whole picture, it is always free. That's why when you wake up, that awareness, do you carry the mountains and rivers and the characters? It's free. Not only when you wake up, while the dream was going on, your awareness was never affected. But at the same time, that whole big show went on. In the waking world, if you see what is really there, quantum physics converges with what Vedanta says. What you think to be all these real things, the trees, the mountains, the characters, the human being, everything is what? Nothing but atoms and particles, arranged in different permutations and combinations to give different characters, different characteristics. Okay. Now, at the quantum level, there is no tangibility anymore. Okay. After particles, everything is just concepts. Okay. That concept depends upon what? Awareness. What is the relationship between concept and awareness? Concept cannot exist without awareness. Awareness is independent of concept. Where is this awareness given to you? As self-evident. I am. This is awareness, which is already free, which is the very basis of the whole universe. This is the vision of Vedanta. It's not the vision that you are a little small soul which is after, going from here it will go to other places. Yes, it says, until you discover this reality about yourself, this is what we call a jiva. A jiva is caught in this framework of cause and effect relationship. Okay? So after this body goes, what? Next body is taken to experience what? The unseen result of one's action. And this goes on and on and on until in one lifetime you inquire into the truth and discover your reality. So this is where we say moksha. Moksha as a pursuit is not being a good human being. Being a good human being is a very basic thing. It's a very first step. We are not, the end of life is not to be a good human being. That's a starting point. The end is to discover your true nature, which is free from any limitation. Once you understand that I am not one entity in the universe, acting in the universe, collecting karmas, but I am the truth of the whole universe, that whole karmic thing disintegrates for that person. This is what we call moksha. According to the Vedic vision and Gita's vision of life, human end is moksha. To discover this reality. And to initiate self-growth for understanding this reality. So this is what it says, that only a few people, dhiraha, okay, inquiring into the nature of oneself, right, and then they do not go for objects for their satisfaction. They go into what? Inquiry about nature of oneself. But that requires some discernment. It requires you to figure out what I'm looking for, what the world can give me, and what it cannot give me. And what will satisfy my search for freedom. The whole thing has to be what? Only when you recognize the need, then you will come to Vedanta. Until then, you are caught in this. Even the knowledge is available, you have to make a choice. You have to choose to get it. Every knowledge is like that. The professor of physics doesn't come and knock on your door and say, come, 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 I have come to know something about the time, space and about the nature of the world. You have to see the need for it and you have to go and learn for yourself. Vedanta is available as a teaching, but you need to see the value. And you need to make that commitment to know what it has to say about you. And in that is this solution for your search. Normal way of engaging, there is your competency. You are maybe privileged, but you are still caught. Okay? So this is where it will end. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Hari